Israel went to, pretty significant lengths to try and extirpate Hamas in the Gaza Strip. But you're seeming to indicate that it is still viable, or it could reconstruct itself and actually make a play for the West Bank. Am I reading you right?
You're reading me right. I think that with this ceasefire, we actually snatched defeat from the jaws of victory.
Was there, though, could Prime Minister Netanyahu have pursued a different path given the exigencies of Israeli domestic opinion and the pressure on him to extricate the hostages from Hamas's grip?
Well, I mean, ultimately, Netanyahu is an elected leader and he has to respond to his constituency. But what I look back on is that the leaders of the October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel were actually released under a previous hostage deal, I think back in around 2011 or so. And
Right.
so what I worry about is whether Netanyahu wasn't simply kicking the can down the road. Look, this is the weakness of democracy. And autocracies, revisionists, whether it's China, whether it's Russia, whether it's Iran, whether it's Hamas, are very masterful at playing to the public audience within democracies. And I should say, even autocracies suffer the same issue. If we want to look at Russia, my friend Dodge Billingsley spent a good deal of time with the Chechen rebels about 25 years ago and wrote a great book about it. But what he understood was that when the Chechens went out to attack Russia, they would always go in cells of 5, one of which would be a cameraman. If the cameraman was wounded or for some other reason couldn't go, then the mission would be called off, because what was the point of conducting a mission unless you could get the propaganda value from it? And you know this well. In U.S. strategy at West Point, at the Naval Academy, they teach the dime model, where every strategy needs to have a diplomatic and informational and military and an economic component, and the whole is actually greater than the sum of the parts. Unfortunately, in the United States, we often ignore that informational component. Our adversaries don't do that.
Well, just as another question, let's say that these accords do, in fact, or this agreement does end up breaking down, as is possible. Wouldn't that reignite hostilities between the two sides and, in effect, give the Israelis another opportunity to target Hamas?
It absolutely would, Jacob. I mean, yes, that's the danger. Um, at the same time, Hamas may figure that they could hunker down, or that the same pressures would occur should they be able to hide behind the international community, behind the diplomatic harp strings, until they can outlast Trump. And let's also face it, Trump at most has 4 years. But in reality, we're going to start having the machinations of a new presidential campaign after 2 years among both the Democrats and among Republicans who are going to branch off. And therefore, Hamas, which is very adept at playing American politics, may simply believe that if they can survive just 2 years, that will be enough to rescue them.